So last night, I made a video where I talked about how only Bernie Sanders among leading American politicians took the right stand in condemning Donald Trump for his illegal, unwarranted, immoral, aggressive attack on Iranian General Soleimani in Iraq, and how Bernie Sanders was the only one to not hedge his bets in his statement, to not preface it by saying that Soleimani was a bad guy or an evil guy, or how no one was going to be sad for the attack before going into his criticism about Trump. Rather, Bernie made it clear the whole point was to underline how, at the end of the day, this is an action that will cause harm to millions potentially. It is an act of rash aggression that will harm American soldiers, that could harm American citizens, and that could harm people in Iran, in Iraq, and beyond. I'm not getting into an argument about what Soleimani means to the world, to Iran, good guy, bad guy, in between. In this moment, the issue was with the attack and how it was an act of aggression against Iran, clear cut. And I have to say that the NDP, the left-leaning party here in Canada, has got it right on this issue. There's two statements right now. First came one from an MP, Member of Parliament Charlie Angus, one of the veteran representatives of the NDP, where he made it clear that what Donald Trump has done is dragging the world closer to war, and that in so doing, he has created an untenable situation for anyone who believes in peace. And he made it clear that Canada should have no part in whatever is going to happen next from the American perspective. And even more concrete, as it comes from the leader of the party, Jagmeet Singh, was a statement that underlines that what Donald Trump did was wrong, and how our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, in cooperation with other world leaders and organizations, must work to de-escalate this situation because Canada and its allies should not be a part of what Donald Trump may be planning to do next. Those are good statements. Neither of them hedge bets. Neither of them are like, well, you know, a bad guy faced consequences, but it was the procedures, the dotting of the I's, the crossing of the T's, that was the issue. Rather, the issue here is Donald Trump's naked act of aggression was inappropriate, immoral, and dangerous, and that Canada, if it is to be seen as a peaceful, rational, reasonable, compassionate nation, needs to do what it can to de-escalate this situation and make sure that we not get roped into a Trumpian quagmire in Iraq or in Iran, as we have been in the past and as we have avoided in the past when our leadership has done the right thing. And so I think from Singh and from Angus, and likely from other NDP MPs and figures, we're seeing the right stand. Like Bernie Sanders, they made it very clear. There is no hedge betting here. It's not about that right now. This isn't a trial of Suleimani, a moral or a legal or a political trial of that particular man. It isn't. This is about the act itself and how it was dangerous and reckless and inappropriate. That's the story. Now, the question is, what will Justin Trudeau's Liberal government do here in Canada? Technically, we're in a minority government, which means the Justin Trudeau Liberals can't rule unilaterally, but odds are, given the fact that the Conservative Party is facing an imminent leadership contest, that there's no real threat to the government on this issue or any other issue for the foreseeable future. Will Justin Trudeau take a stand against Donald Trump? I don't think it's very likely. First of all, despite the fact that Donald Trump and Justin Trudeau have very different images, and despite the fact that there's been recent tensions between the two with regards to, hot mics and candid discussions at NATO meetings, the point is that they have broadly similar foreign policy goals, views, and objectives, especially with regards to Latin America, as we've seen. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Justin Trudeau will support this particular move by Donald Trump. But if we look at the statement from François-Philippe, who's Canada's foreign affairs minister, He basically takes a similar tone to people like Warren and Biden, but maybe even more restrained than Warren and Biden. Basically, he calls for restraint and calm and cautiousness, but he's very, very careful to note that he is concerned with the actions of Iran, which is to basically, again, hedge bets. To do like what so many American moderates are doing. Critique Trump, or at the very least call for restraint, but on the other hand, make sure that you don't look like you're showing any sympathy to Iran or Iranian officials or to Iranian institutions. And I think that's very troubling because, again, it's not about Iran in this moment. It's not about that. It's not about whether Iran or Soleimani or any particular institution is a good guy or a bad guy. The nature of this attack was wrong, was dangerous, was rash, was illegal, was an act of aggression, and that's why it matters in this context. So it worries me that Canada's foreign affairs minister is doing what, moderates like Warren and Biden and others have been doing, which is to sit on the fence and see how this plays out. Again, as I noted last night, Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden basically said that, Suleimani is bad, but the way Donald Trump did this is not good, and he is going to cause problems for us because of the way he approached this action. So if the action is popular, they can always go back and say, well, I always agreed that this guy was bad. It's the procedure that was wrong. Or if the action is unpopular, they can say that, I was always against the action, even though they were hedging. And that's what I think Champagne, Canada's foreign affairs minister, is doing here. And this needs to be juxtaposed to the strong stance taken by Charlie Angus, Jagmeet Singh, and others, which is a clear denouncement of Trump's actions and a call for de-escalation and a call for Canada to not be involved with whatever Trump is planning next as acts of aggression in the Middle East. That's the difference between the Liberal Party and the NDP on this issue. That's the difference between Bernie Sanders and the other Democratic presidential candidates in the United States. The left needs to be clear here. We stand against war. We stand against naked acts of aggression. We stand against Donald Trump's plans to use acts of aggression as a political tool in 2020.